In this episode, defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo was kind enough to catch up with us once again and talk about the Bengals' push to the playoffs. Unfortunately, a couple of close ones didn't go their way. They hit the road. They've been a better road team than they've been home team this year. 4-2 on the road, 3-4 at home. Curious. It's a league-wide thing this year, though. We'll talk to Coach Lou Anarumo about that and so much more. I think you're going to enjoy what you're going to hear. Welcome once again to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, and we're emanating from beautiful First Star Logistics studios as always. And our very special guest today, defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. And Coach, appreciate you joining us today, sir.
Hey, Lap, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing well. I guess the first question is, let me ask you how some of your players are doing. Get nicked up a little bit, and guys did play hurt. Awuzie sucked it up and gave you a bunch of snaps out there. And what's his status after having played and slept on it and all the things that you have to do in the early stages of this week? What's his status, Coach?
Yeah, I just think this time of the year, mid to late December, and nobody in the league is feeling good. Everybody's banged up. So Chidobe and Trey Hendrickson alike, I think those guys will kind of see how each day goes and, kind of keep an eye on it and monitor it as the week goes. And hopefully both those guys will be up and running on Sunday.
Yeah. So the good news is there's hope there. They're not eliminated from action, which is good, because honestly, the team has stayed away from a big rash of injury. Let's put it that way. It's been pretty fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, let's hopefully it stays that way.
I hear that 100%, sir. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this past football game against the 49ers. This football team is one that likes to run it. And I thought really defensively, I thought that you guys handled that aspect of it pretty well. 23 carries, 100 yards, little over 4 yards per. You're still fourth in the National Football League now in yards allowed rushing. Do you feel pretty good about how the running game was handled last week and where you are at this stage of the season?
Yeah, they were held under their average. They were around 130 a game, and the 3 games that they won previous, they were in the 175 to 180 range when they won. So we knew it was a huge deal. Really, the 29-yard run that they had to Debo,
right?
Is really should have been an 8 or 9 yard run. We just got to keep leverage on the ball there. So we felt good about that. We felt good about our third down defense. They were 0 for 6 in the first half and finished 5 of 15 in the game. So we hit the court, sacked them 5 times, hit them 9 times, had 6 TFLs. We just didn't do enough to get it done.
And for the most part, I mean, 50% in the red zone. That's not a terrible number right there. So overall, I think winning football was played on the defensive side of things. Unfortunately, there were a couple of turnovers were very, very costly, particularly when they occur in the kicking game, because you guys get off the football field. You're making them kick the ball, and then they're trying to flip the field. So all that yardage. When you lose control of the football there, I mean, now you're defending short fields, and once again your group comes out there in the first muff punt fumble and hold them to a field goal. So the sudden change thing that has been happening for you all season long continued there. I mean, it's very impressive the way your group. I mean, off the field, muff a punt, got to go right back on the football field and put out the fire again. It's impressive.
Yeah, I mean that's our task, that's our job. So the guys have done a heck of a job with that. It's unfortunate. Before the half, we had the 2-minute stop. We muffed the punt. We stopped them again, and we get a penalty that forces them to get the ball the third time, and they finally score there. But we have to be better. We got to be better. Just across the board, and finish things off the right way. and not give up that drive in overtime.
Coach, this taunting stuff it's a, and I know you're in a tough situation. I can vent, I guess, a little bit, but I know it's not a good spot to put you in, obviously. But to me, it's like sometimes the league decides on something and they overcompensate. I think the pendulum has swung too far, and now, I mean, at critical times of a game, and it's going to happen at critical times because a player makes a play and he's emotional about it, and he's celebratory or whatever, and sometimes the littlest things are going to get flagged and quote taunting. I understand their thought process, but I think the pendulum has swung too far. And it reminds me of the great Marv Levy in NFL Films. One time I saw him saying to an official, "You're being an overly officious jerk." You know what I mean? I think the league has put the officials in a spot where they have to be overly officious. I mean, that has to be what how do you tell your players to handle it, coach? Is it stay away from the opponent? And if you're going to do any kind of celebrating,
Yeah, we've been singing that since the day the rule was put in effect. And as you mentioned, it's an emotional game. But at the end of the day, when we make a play or when there's a situation, we just have to find one of our teammates and celebrate with our teammates. We've been saying that, for 6 months now. So we can't make the error that we did the other night.
Yeah, that one was very unfortunate. There's no question about it. And so let's put the San Francisco game to bed, and now you're getting ready for the Denver Broncos. What do you see when you watch tape of the Denver Broncos offense?
Well, it seems to be the trend. Like I see a couple really good running backs. The young guy is, I think, going to be a special player in our league, and Melvin Gordon is who Melvin Gordon is. So you've got two really, really good running backs. You got a good offensive line. You got weapons on the outside. Sutton and Judy, and the tight end, and obviously a host of other guys, and Teddy Bridgewater has been a proven winner in this league, and so they bring things that we have to be prepared for. But I think at the end of the day, you get, as I mentioned before, you're getting the middle to late December, and their head coach is a defensive coach, so here comes the run, and in their last 5 games, when they've run the ball, 30 plus times or more, they've won all 3. They've won 3 out of 5. When they've thrown it 30 or more, they've lost. So I think that just tells you their recipe in their minds is we got to run the ball. So
right. Yeah, I mean, you look at them statistically, and that's something that jumps out at you a little bit, is their ability to run the football. The Denver Broncos are 8th in the NFL in rush average, and they're just out of the top 10 in rushing yards per game. And everything in their passing attack is it kind of like the 49er mindset of some play action and boots and nakeds and those sort of things are all set up by that running game?
Similar, yeah, very similar. They have some unique concepts that they incorporate, but there are some similarities for sure. And they stress you. They stress your eyes on hey, we got to stop the run, and then play action boots off of that. So that's why you have to try to make it one-dimensional, where that maybe the run game doesn't have as much bite if you're allowing that. But we got to do a great job tackling. These guys break a lot of tackles in the run game, so it's going to be a huge emphasis this week.
Yeah, the Williams, the young guy you're talking about, the 2nd-round pick out of North Carolina, man, 5'10", 220 pounds, and he's one of those guys, with a good body lean. It's like he gives you no hitting surface. It's like trying to tackle a pectoral and a quadricep. It's like, man, what's there to grab there? He's one of those kind of guys, isn't he?
Oh, for sure. And he very rarely goes down on the first hit. He's great after first contact. So, a downhill runner for sure, with a great low sense of leverage and center of gravity. And we got to put multiple hits on this guy.
Teddy Bridgewater, is he better in the pocket? Is he better out of pocket? Is he equally effective in both ways, Coach?
I've seen him throughout his career be effective in both spots. He's a guy that's been around, and going all the way back to when he was at Minnesota before he got injured. Played him at the Dolphins back in 2014, I think it was, or 15, I don't remember. But the guy can move, and he's got a good arm, and he's accurate, and he's smart as hell, and he's a good football player.
So I remember when I was playing, the big thing with, oh man, you're going to Denver. Oh, the altitude. Just wait, just wait. And it's almost like you paint this picture of, whoa, almost gloom and doom. And I have to say, I noticed it, but it wasn't like, I was gasping for it. It wasn't like I couldn't breathe, but
Yeah.
you noticed it a little bit. But some people try to make a mountain out of a molehill. What's been your experience with that altitude factor in Denver?
Yeah, like you a little bit, not to the degree of, like, I don't know if you ever played at Wyoming, that's different.
Mhm.
But this, I think, as long as we're at this point in the year, everybody's in great shape, and we'll be okay as long as we don't have any long sustained drives. I remember we played out there 15 or 16, I don't remember, and they had one long drive on us, and I could see some guys going to the oxygen, but for the most part, we were fine.
Coach, I hear things like the defensive backs are scheduling additional meeting time on their own, to further communicate, to look at tape together, to be on the same page, and I hear a lot of good things. To be honest about it,
Yeah.
as the season wears down, you only have 4 games left. That's obviously comes from the players. When you, as a defensive coordinator, as a coach on that staff, when you see your players doing that, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I went to downstairs through the locker room this morning, and all the DBs are in there meeting. It's not just the DBs. We got different groups throughout the week that get together, and then they do a players only meeting Friday after practice that they
Huh.
watch some more tape together. And this is all driven by the leaders of the group, and I think it's great. It just shows you how invested they are, how much they want to win, and they want to do everything in their power to, hey, we want to be on the details of our jobs, and it's a great sign because it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, no question about it. I guess one thing that probably should have mentioned in that San Francisco game was this tight end by the name of George Kittle,
Yeah,
who is a freak of nature. I mean, this guy. I mean, the energy, the emotion, the enthusiasm that he provides. I, I, I feel like I could have fed off of it. I mean, this guy he's just an unbelievable football player. And I know, Coach, you exhausted every way known to man to try to minimize him. What makes him so unique? What makes him so special?
well, he's big, he's tough, and then you throw that, he moves like he's a 6'2", 210-pound guy as opposed to as big as he is. So
Right.
you know, there was a couple plays that overall, the numbers through we have almost 4.5, almost 5 quarters of football. So the numbers, he had 4 in overtime.
Right.
One was a big one, that we can't give up, and we just had wrong leverage on him there. But if the normal, not that 8 for 80 is good, but that's what he would have had in regulation. And really, one of them was after one of the muff kicks. There was a lot of stuff to the flat,
Yep.
and where he was off the bootlegs and things like that. So you want to minimize, like, normally he goes off when he has numbers like that. He has a 40 or a 50 or 60 yarder. His long of the day was 21, I think. And again, it's just too many. At the end of the day, he caught too many balls. But we had him doubled sometimes. We had a safety on him. We had a
Yep.
corner on him. We tried different things, and at the end of the day, they did a good job. We got to do better.
Well, one thing he seems to do, not just against Cincinnati, but he seems to do against everybody, is when teams are playing zone and trying to pay attention to him and passing him off, he seems to always find, the spot where when it's being passed off is the one spot of vulnerability. The guy he has a knack for running routes, doesn't he?
He's a natural at that for sure. Again, along with being a heck of a blocker,
Yeah.
he's really truly, the full package as a tight end.
That's the amazing thing is you see him take on, quality defensive ends one-on-one and, hold his own or more than hold his own. And when you have and I've heard him on record saying, a dominating block is more satisfactory to me than catching a touchdown pass.
That's his mindset, and you can see that in how he plays. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's just a football player right there. Talk about the tight end position with the Denver Broncos, and then there are others. I mean, it's a fairly solid group, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very. I mean, everybody talks about Fant, but you got 85, you got 82. These guys are also guys that can go out there and, in certain situations, 85 is the leading receiver in a particular formation or down a distance. So they've got multiple guys that can do things to you. It's not just him. He's another excellent tight end. But they've got other capable guys as well. I know Pat likes to use those guys in different roles. So we got our hands full there.
It's interesting. The Bengals at this stage are 4-2 on the road and 3-4 at home, which is kind of it's not an oddity for this season though, because I know a couple of weeks ago, road teams were 4 games over 500 as opposed to home teams. So
yeah, I saw that same stat, and I was taken back by that the first time in a long time that road teams in the NFL were, plus and because as we know, it's usually not like that.
Yeah, usually it's big time the other way. Do you think? I mean, the pandemic, obviously, there were no crowds, so I could see where that might be the case there. But with crowds, do you think it's just that organizations and players have just learned how to travel so well that's a big part of it? I mean, they're handling that aspect, and they're physically and mentally rested and ready to play the game.
Yeah, it could be. You want the guys and to be focused all the time, and I think maybe there's something too when you get away and you're in a hotel room and as opposed to being home where there's maybe a few more things to do, where you're focused in a little bit more and you're locked in on the road for other reasons. But I think that our guys have handled the road games, as the record speaks, very well, and hopefully it will be that way the rest of the year.
What's the biggest key to having successful travel, Coach? I mean, you guys have done it obviously very well. I mean, not that balance about how long do you have players meet? How long do you rest them? I mean, is there a formula that you juggle there a little bit?
Yeah, I think the routine that we have set up by Zach has been great, and that's the thing, we keep to the routine. Even when we traveled all the way across to Vegas, and this one's a little bit of a trip too. You just keep the normal routine. The guys know where they have to be, when they have to be there. It doesn't change drastically. We know when we're leaving. We do our stuff in the morning. We get on the buses. So I think there's something to that. And we've as you mentioned, we've handled it well this year so far.
Talk about how Jermaine Pratt has played for you this season, Coach. Now, with the unfortunate injury to Logan Wilson, he's got the green dot and you're communicating with him and he's passing it along to his teammates. And man, I watched this guy and he sees it and he plays fast. I'm telling you, that he's having a good year, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of the guys that really studies the game, like a lot of our guys, but Jermaine really engulfs himself in the preparation part of it. He knows it like the coaches know it. He does a phenomenal job communicating, and I'm just so happy we have him. He's a wonderful guy and plays his butt off for us on Sundays, and nobody's going to outwork him. So he's a pleasure to have.
How did Joe Bocci perform for you in a role that was added to a little bit?
Yeah, Bocci Ball did his thing. He's gonna give you all he's got. Another guy that's going to immerse himself into the routine of hey, what can I get out of this formation, that formation, and he's going to lay everything out on the line on Sundays, and you can't ask for any more than that.
I did see that 5-man front that you use and you've used very, very well and successfully this season. It handled the run, and also you got a quarterback sack pressures out of it, and you guys did a great job. They were having real problems handling your TE twist big time, weren't they?
Yeah, they did a nice. That whole group of guys who work on that stuff, and Marion does a great job with all that, and just like all of our coaches, Al Golden does a tremendous job with his guys, Rob Livingston and Steve Jackson in the back end. I'm blessed to have the guys that I work with because they all do a phenomenal job. So, but you're right; those pick games were executed really well, and it showed up on the first third down of the game where they set up. We set up Trey,
Yep.
and B.J. Hill did a great job picking the guard, and he came around, and it was nice.
Yeah, it was free and clean and easy to the quarterback. Those are the ones that you like. So, Coach, appreciate you carving the time that you have. And one final question for you, I guess, if you were to, and I know it's early in the week and you're still formulating, and I know you're going to put together a great one, but from what you've seen so far, if you could give us 2 or 3 musts that has to happen for you defensively.
Well, it gets a little boring at this time because you always hear me say the same thing, but we cannot let him run the ball, and we've got to do a phenomenal job tackling these guys. He's going to break some, but we have to have multiple guys there to get him on the ground, both of them, and we have to create turnovers. We got to get back to creating turnovers and being in position to do that. So that's going to be key.
Is this kid the numbers that you've seen? Williams, is he a guy that is amongst the league leaders in terms of broken tackles and yards after first contact and all that stuff?
He's really good at that, yes. And again, we're talking about he's behind Melvin Gordon, one of the better runners in our league. So they both can do it, and we know we got a big challenge there.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon, man, that guy's an all-around back. He's a good receiver. I mean,
he sure is.
He's the real deal.
He definitely is. High respect for both those guys.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Coach, I'll tell you, it doesn't get any easier in the National Football League. Everybody's got players, everybody's got coaches. Man, it's tough duty. It is. Coming up with something, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what we signed up for, and it's late. As I mentioned, mid to late December, and we're fighting for the to get to the playoffs, and that's what you can ask for. So, we know we haven't been perfect, but our guys are all in and scratching and clawing and doing everything they got to do to get these next 4 games to get us in position to get in a tournament.
No question about it, Coach. And I know it'll be full effort, 100% effort will be given out there in the Mile High City.
Can't wait.
Appreciate you, sir.
All right, take care, bud. Thank you.
Put together a great one.
Will do.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Breaks? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. Get the body right, then the mind's right.
Gotta get that body right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out firststarlogistics.com.